Hello friends, welcome to Quick Chess Videos. Today we are going to see the revenge taken by Radjabov against Vidit. Check out the previous video to see how Vidit Gujrathi beat Radjabov in the World Rapids 2016. This game was played in Tata Steel Tournament 2019. It is a very powerful attacking game by Radjabov in which he sacrificed his knights to beat Vidit. There is a surprise for the viewers at the end, and so watch till the end. Let's start this blasting game. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, bishop b4. In the opening, one should control the center, develop their pieces and bring the king to safety. Queen a4 check, attacking the king as well as the bishop. Black has to play knight c6 in order to defend the both. This is known as the Ragozin defense. In this position, it's all about the placement of the black knight ahead of its c pawn, which can lead to white controlling center more. In contrast, we will see what black has in his mind. The play continued e3, castles, and if bishop d2, unpinning the knight, we can see the main idea of Ragozin defense. Pawn captures pawn, bishop captures pawn, and bishop d6. Getting ready for the e6 e5 break, which is the main idea in Ragozin. If castles, then black will play e5, and we can see that black is doing fine by attacking the center and opening up the c8 bishop. So here white played queen c2, as sooner or later white has to bring the queen back as she has no job there. Rook e8, bishop d2, bishop d6. Black is waiting for the white's light squared bishop to come out before taking on c4. If c5, then black has bishop f8 with the threat of e6 e5, and black will be doing fine. One should not try to release the tension in the center for the sake of getting a tempo. The game continued. h3, a6, a3. Both players are employing the waiting strategy before taking on c4. Bishop d7, bishop e2. As the bishop has now moved, black captures the pawn as white will lose a move, but we are not sure if that has resulted for good for black. Pawn captures pawn, bishop captures pawn, h6. This is the moment when white went all in. Pause the video and try to think for the couple of minutes. Here, castling is a normal and good option, but white went all in with the move g4. Aggression, this is just hyper aggression. White is planning to play rook g1, follow it with g4 g5 and try to slaughter the black king. After h6, after g4, black continued e5. A classic strategy of meeting a flank attack is to counter attack in the center, but here the bishop's diagonal becomes very powerful and f7 can be a point of target for the white army. White in his attacking style continued g5, attacking the knight. If black takes on g5, then after knight captures g5, white attacks the f7, and we can see that it only helps white. So instead of that, black played the move b5, attacking the bishop. Try to think how white continued in this position. If pawn captures knight, then black has a decent position after pawn captures bishop, and f cross g7. We can see that this pawn has reached near the king, but if we take a closer look, the pawn is just going to help defend the black king. And after e takes d4, the rook on e8 becomes a monster, and this is the pin. If you play knight d5, then black can simply attack the knight, bishop e6, and the knight has nowhere to go, as if it goes to f4, then black has a beautiful trick. For try to find it for yourself first. Bishop captures knight, pawn captures, and bishop f5 check, winning the queen with a discovered attack. And if instead of knight f4, if white goes to knight b4, then knight captures b4, a captures b4, and bishop d5, there is a devastating pin, and again black is doing very good. So instead of pawn captures knight, white went with the move bishop a2. Now pause the video and try to find the way for black to create counterplay. This is a very important critical moment, and the future of the game will be decided by this move. Congratulations for finding knight captures d4. Black needs to open the lines as fast as possible to attack the white king. The variation continues. Pawn captures knight, pawn captures pawn, check with the rook. The knight is also attacked, so the knight comes in between. Black plays queen e7, threatening checkmate on e2. White has to take the pawn and support the knight. And after pawn takes pawn on g5, we can see that this is a very complicated position with chances for both sides. In the game, black played the move pawn captures pawn instead of taking it with the knight, and here came a very beautiful blow by white. Try to find the next move of white again. If pawn captures knight, then black will simply take the pawn, and we can see both knights are attacked. The variation continues. Knight captures on d4, and after knight captures on d4, there's a pin on the e line, and black is completely better. In this position, Radjabov played a very strong sacrificing move, pawn captures pawn. Bam! White is trying to sacrifice his knight in order to blow up the king's position. Black captured the knight back on c3, and white took the pawn on c3. Now we will evaluate the current position. White has sacrificed a piece, but both his bishops are absolute monsters. The queen can come to g6 because of the pin on this diagonal. The knight can also join the party with knight g5. Over and all, white has a fantastic attack, and only engines can defend this kind of positions. It is important to mention as well that the rook can also join the party with rook g1. Over and all, white has a very powerful attack, so black tried to exchange as many as pieces possible and neutralize the pieces, and so decided to play bishop e6. Whenever you are facing an attack, try to exchange pieces to reduce the attacking potential. White took on e6, rook captures on e6, and pause the video and think how to continue the attack. Note that taking the pawn would be a mistake, as the pawn would provide shelter to the black's king and the lines get blocked for the attack. So white played rook g1. Congratulations for finding the move rook g1. Black played knight e8. If g6, then white can already sacrifice the rook on g6, and after pawn takes, he can come with the queen on g6 and deliver all kinds of checkmates. So after knight e8, white played bishop captures g7, knight captures g7. Again, pause the video and try to think for yourself whether to take with the pawn or with the rook. Correct. We should take with the rook. Taking with the pawn would again provide shelter to the king. After queen f6, black is attacking the knight, and if knight g5 with the idea to threaten checkmate, black will simply play queen g6 and black's position is holding. So after rook captures g7, black played king f8. Try to find what white played next. White needs to involve more and more pieces into the attack. Queen h7. The queen also joins the party. Queen f6, and the final piece joins the attack, knight g5. If rook e7, then white will deliver a checkmate, queen h8 checkmate. So black, in order to open the white king, tried a very interesting idea. He played rook captures pawn, check. Now again we need to think how to continue, because taking the rook would open the king. Try to find it for yourself, the way for shelter to the white king. If we take the rook, then black was planning bishop g3 check, king d1, rook d8 check, king c2, and the white king is too weak and black gets a perpetual draw by knight d4 check, e d4, queen c6 check, and the checks will not stop now. King b1, queen h1 check, king a2, queen d5 check, b3, queen g2 check, king b1, queen g1 check, and there would be a draw by perpetual check. Instead, white played a brilliant move again, king f1, just moving away from the check. Black played knight d8 in order to defend the f7 square, and after queen g8 check, king e7, h7, trying to promote and get a new queen. Black played bishop g3, and now comes another very important critical moment of the game. Try to find for yourself, how did white manage to solve this problem. There is a very beautiful trick by white. Knight e4, sacrificing the knight. The rook line gets opened, and now the rook will capture on g3 and the checkmate is saved, while black's king is still open in the centers and white threatens to promote the pawn. So black has to play rook to h4, and now only the rook is not doing anything, so the rook comes to d1. Black is in desperation mode and he sadly took rook captures pawn. Now here queen captures rook is also simply winning, but white played rook e3 check and knight e6. The king has nowhere to go, the knight has to block the check, and queen a8. After all these operations, white is exchange up and having a winning position. The game continued, rook h8, queen c6, king f8, and the final blow of the game comes now. Try to think for yourself the fast way to win this game. Rook captures on e6. Congratulations, you are a great tactician. If queen captures on e6, then white can play rook d8 check, king g7, and the game continued, queen c3 check. Black if comes forward, then his rook will be lost, and so the only two ways to protect the by check is to bring the queen in between. But if black plays queen f6, then a simple calculation with queen captures queen, king captures, and rook captures rook will leave white with an extra rook. After queen c3 check, the game continued f6, and queen captures c7 check, and here black resigned. If black brings the queen in between, then white will simply take the queen and then take the rook with an extra rook. A classic, beautiful attacking masterpiece. Now time for the surprise. If you want to get your game analyzed in the funny way, send your best game and your photo on the email ID given in the description. And believe it's free. Games of the subscribers will be analyzed on every Wednesday. Waiting for your best game. If you loved the video, like, share and subscribe. Bye bye.